Welcome to this week's edition of World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley reporting here from Washington, D.C. Now, this week I was in New York on September 11th for the very interesting symposium hosted by Tom Kiley and Lenny Charles of the INN Independent Network News, INN World Report. Very well attended. Must have been 300 people all told. And you can see a write-up of this in the London Guardian. And as many have said, this is probably one of the best articles, maybe the best article on the question of 9/11 to appear in mainstream media anywhere in the world in the past, maybe 5 or 10 years. So do take a look. And you can see there are other speakers there from having various intelligence agencies in their backgrounds, but not me. And that is the question of the drills and the question of Angel is Next, and some of that seems to have come across. So Charlie Skelton, very good job that he did. So take a look. That's on the media interviews page at tarpley.net. But now, we have the European banking panic breaking out. This is a breakdown crisis. This is a disintegration. This is a world economic depression. Who by now hasn't figured out that if we have Bear and Lehman and then all of Wall Street blowing in the period 3 years ago, we just had the third anniversary of the Lehman Brothers crash. I think that was the 14th of September. Now we've got a blowout of the entire European banking system, and the U.S. system is trembling, and people in other parts of the world will soon find how great their dependence is, and that will include China, that will include Brazil, that will include everybody. Nobody will remain untouched. No eye will remain dry around the world when this stuff gets going in style. The basic problem is the derivatives black hole. 1.5 quadrillion, 1,000 trillion dollars of derivatives. That is an insatiable black hole. And all the credit-creating capacity of every central bank in the world, plus the European Central Bank, plus the Fed, plus the Bank of Japan, is not enough to do anything to change this insatiable black hole. The only thing to do is to turn on your disintegrator gun and destroy the black hole. And that means shut down the zombie banks, close them, end too big to fail, put them through bankruptcy, and in the course of the bankruptcy, cancel and delete and destroy all derivatives. There is no other way to go. And we'll deal with various brand X solutions as we go along here. The Euro zombies are at the center of our attention. And again, we've been talking for quite a while about the depression coming in three waves. In 1929, in October, we had the U.S. stock market panic. That basically corresponds to the Bear, Lehman, and everybody else going bankrupt in September 3 years ago. But, of course, this time around it's worse, as you see. Why is it worse? Well, because derivatives are now here. Derivatives were present in 1929, but not on this scale. There were orders, many orders of magnitude beyond the presence of the derivatives. The derivatives, of course, did play a role in the bankruptcy of the German banking system in 1931. Secondly, we had the European banking crisis of the summer of 1931. Remember, it started with Kreditanstalt Vienna, went on to the Donat Bank in Berlin, and then culminated with the breakup of the British pound when the Bank of England defaulted on gold payment. That infamous day that should be burned into everybody's memories far more than the New York Black Thursday. It is September 21st, 1931, when Lord Montague Norman took the British pound off gold payment, not because gold payment is anything great. It was a bad idea to go back to gold, but that, in effect, destroyed the only system for financing world trade that there existed at that time. Now we have, and you can see how artificial it is, an attempt to repeat that using speculative attack, using credit default swaps to attack European banks, to shift the burden of the depression over to Europe. Now, clearly, once the European banks go, if they do, the U.S. banks will soon follow. So we're going to have the Euro zombies pulling down the U.S. zombies. The answer, again, to all of this is to put an end to the system of privately controlled zombie banks that essentially absorb all of the credit-creating powers of government, and to put an end to the system of privately owned central banks. But before we can do all that, we've got to survive over the next couple of months. Now, here's what has happened this week. It is a cynical attack on France. Can anybody not see that there is an attempt to target France at the same time that stupid Sarkozy is cavorting in Libya and trying to look like the new French colonial? He's the new Théophile Delcassé in Libya with the new French colonial empire and all the rest of it. And of course, this is simply a bad joke. But rather, we need to look at the attack that has been carried out on France. Now, here we have the Wall Street Journal, Tuesday, September 13th, article by Nicolas Lecaussin. Now, Nicolas Lecaussin is not a renowned financial commentator. He is a provocateur. He's director of development at France's Institute for Economic and Fiscal Research. Well, this is Le Parti de l'Étranger. This is the subversive fifth column that de Gaulle railed against. These are Le Parti de la Dénigration Nationale, the party of national self-denigration that de Gaulle was also very upset with. So here's the contribution of Nicolas Lecaussin, and I quote, "We can no longer borrow U.S. dollars. U.S. money market funds are not lending to us anymore," a bank executive for BNP Paribas, who declines to be named, told me last week. Quote, "Since we don't have access to dollars anymore, we're creating a market in euros. This is a first. We hope it will work. Otherwise, the downward spiral will be hell. We will no longer be trusted at all, and no one will lend to us anymore. No one will lend to us anymore." So Lecaussin provokes panic. He's stoking panic. BNP, SocGen, and Crédit Agricole hold $57 billion of Greek sovereign and private debt. The Germans, by contrast, only $34 billion. The British, only $14 billion. French banks have $140 billion in Spanish debt, 400 billion euros in Italian debt as of December, according to the Bank for International Settlements. Now, what is this unnamed source, and how do they do this? Now, this is the Wall Street Journal doing it. The Wall Street Journal today complains in their editorial, and today meaning Friday, December 16th, they say, "We received our own immersion." This is their lead editorial. Dollars to the European rescue. We'll get to that in a minute. "We received our own immersion in the issue this week after we published an op-ed Tuesday by Nicolas Lecaussin, quoting an unnamed executive from Paribas to the effect of what you've just heard. Much to our surprise, BNP Paribas has requested that the French equivalent of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Autorité des Marchés Financiers, Financial Market Authority, should, quote, open an investigation into the publication of erroneous information about its funding in dollars in an article in the opinion section of the Wall Street Journal. Now, a month or two ago, at the beginning of the Italian crisis, so this was sort of in July to August, we had the Financial Times coming out with a tweet and Reuters coming out with tweets that SocGen, Société Générale, is the new Lehman. Will they do a Lehman? You can see that we're looking at color revolution media manipulation methods designed to foment a banking panic. Europe counterattack. Don't sit there. Don't join in the attack on the euro. Fight. Fight Europe or be damned. And we'll be back in a minute.